On December 19th, 1776, American patriot Thomas Paine publishes his important pamphlet, The American Crisis. Paine was born in Thetford, England in 1737. He had almost no formal education and tried various occupations with little success. Unlucky in love as well, Paine had 2 failed marriages. Then in 1774 he met Benjamin Franklin, who was living in London at the time representing the interests of the colonies of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Georgia. Franklin saw something in the 37-year-old Paine and urged him to move to Philadelphia, even providing him with letters of introduction. He arrived in Philadelphia in November 1774. With Franklin's influence, Paine was able to get a job with a fledgling publication called the Pennsylvania Magazine, becoming its editor. He published numerous articles for the periodical, including a scathing condemnation of the slave trade entitled African Slavery in America. In January 1776, Paine published his most famous work, a pamphlet called Common Sense, which played a major role in convincing colonists of the merits of independence. The formal Declaration of Independence came in July, but the second half of 1776 went wretchedly for George Washington and the Continental Army. His troops were crushed in New York City and forced to flee across New Jersey and make camp on the Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River. Paine wrote The American Crisis at this dark moment of the Revolution, hoping to encourage patriots across the colonies to continue the fight. His words came at the perfect time. Washington had devised a bold plan to cross the Delaware River on Christmas night and attack Hessian mercenaries in Trenton, New Jersey, the following morning. Before the crossing of the Delaware began, it is believed Washington had The American Crisis read to his troops, hoping to inspire them with Paine's stirring lines like, "These are the times that try men's souls," and "The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph." And the triumph was indeed glorious, as Washington's men crossed the river and defeated the Hessians at Trenton. At the end of the American Revolution, Paine again found himself poverty-stricken. His patriotic writings had sold by the hundreds of thousands, but he had refused to accept any profits in order that cheap editions might be widely circulated. The state of New York granted him land in New Rochelle, where he lived on a farm. Paine eventually made his way back to Europe and participated in the French Revolution. He returned again to the United States in 1802 and died in New York City in 1809. A statue of Paine was erected in his birthplace of Thetford, England in 1964. Nearby, guests can stay at the Thomas Paine Hotel. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1675, colonial militias square off against Narragansett Indians in the Great Swamp Fight in Rhode Island. In 1732, 26-year-old Benjamin Franklin publishes the first edition of Poor Richard's Almanac. In 1777, General George Washington leads his troops to their winter camp at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. In 1917, the 4-team NHL opens its first season with a game between Montreal and Ottawa. In 1984, Britain agrees to return Hong Kong to China in 1997, ending a territorial lease that began in 1898. In 1997, James Cameron's epic drama Titanic, one of history's highest-grossing movies, opens in theaters. In 1998, the U.S. House of Representatives approves articles of impeachment against President Bill Clinton. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. After the construction of the Berlin Wall, when was the first time large numbers of West Berliners were allowed to cross into East Berlin to visit relatives for the holidays? 1963, 1968, 1973, or 1978? Think you know the answer? Drop your guesses in the comments below. Find out if you're right tomorrow on Today in History.